So what I'm going to be talking, I think most of you guys trade Forex. Does anybody here know what futures is? One person, so a few people. Oh, yeah, you guys are students. Okay. So what I noticed here in the Philippines is that the majority of you guys trade Forex, but you don't necessarily trade other markets, okay? So what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is E-mini futures, and I'm also going to give you some information as to why I think futures is a little bit better to trade for new traders, okay? All right, go ahead. So as always, we always do the disclosure. You guys know that you can make a lot of money trading, but also you can lose a lot of money trading. So make sure that if you guys are going to learn how to trade, that you guys take it serious, because obviously you can make a lot of money in this business, but you can also lose a lot of money as well, okay? So this is what I'm going to be going with you guys. The best markets to trade, what kind of markets. Obviously here in the Philippines, I think the trading in this side of the world is mostly Forex, but most people don't trade any other markets as well. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit more information, and also at the end, this Wednesday at 9:30 p.m., we're going to do a live market class. So you guys can come, register for free. We're not going to sell you anything. It's going to be completely free, so you guys can come and learn and ask questions, okay? So my name is Marcello Arrambide. I'm from the United States. I've been trading for almost about 18 years now. And the idea behind me wanting to learn how to trade wasn't necessarily about making money. It was about having my freedom, right? I think in the world or in the world of trading, most people talk about all the money that you can make. But I think that one thing that you guys should know is that you don't have to make a lot of money trading to live from trading and have your freedom, okay? So for me, it wasn't necessarily about making $1 million. It was more about having my freedom. And that's one thing I want you guys to understand as well. You don't have to make $1 million to live from trading. If you guys are consistently profitable, make $10 a day, $50 a day, you guys can live from trading, okay? I always share all the pictures of the travels that I have around the world. I think, who here likes to travel? Raise your hand. Everybody. So I've been traveling around the world now for about 10, 11 years. I've been to over 150 countries. This is in Italy. It's called the Amalfi Coast. Who here would like to have that as an office every day? Not bad, huh? This is Santorini. Do you guys know Santorini? It's in Greece, in the Mediterranean. This is Jericoacoara in Brazil. Here, there's no internet, so here you can't trade. Just so you guys know, okay? And then this is the Taj Mahal. The shirt says best job in the world, and then everybody should know Singapore, yeah? Beautiful. So, Day Trading Academy is the company that we have where we teach people how to day trade. My goal in teaching people how to trade isn't to sell a course, it's to find people to trade my money. So I started in this business training people for free, and the idea for me was to always be able to have you guys trade my money. Because the idea with this is, if you guys make money, then I make more money, right? So it's win-win. That's my idea. So I'm a little bit different. We run things a little bit differently than most other academies because of that. So Day Trading Academy has been around for a while. I registered the business formally in the United States and New York in 2010, and I've been training people now for almost 15 years. Now, this right here, I want everybody to take a picture of this, okay? So the majority of you guys, or some of you, may not have enough capital to trade, okay? And one of the things that we do is we provide a service where you guys can come and apply to use our capital. You don't have to buy anything from us. If you guys learn how to trade and do it on your own, any person can come in and pay starting at 120 bucks. And you guys, if you pass a test, you guys can trade with anywhere between $25,000 to $250,000. And the idea is, you guys come, you pay 120 bucks, you guys can learn for free, learn for somebody else, whatever you guys want to do, yeah? And then if you pass the test, you can trade with very, very big accounts from the fund that we have in the United States, okay? This is just a picture of all the master traders that we have around the world. We have Dominic here as well. Dominic, raise your hand real quick. Dominic is a Filipino. He's helping us here. And here we have traders from all over the world. I like to share this picture because, in my personal opinion, I think anyone can learn how to trade. You can be 16 years old, you can be 80 years old, man, woman. You don't have to have a lot of money to be able to learn. But one thing that most people don't talk about is trading is not easy. Okay? So you guys have to learn how to be able to do it right, because obviously, as I mentioned before, you guys can make a lot of money, but you can lose a lot of money as well, okay? So this is why I like to share this picture, to show you guys the extremes. This guy here, this guy right here, oh, it doesn't work, but this guy here, he's 62 years old, and he's one of the best traders that we have in the academy, okay? So this is my mom. Everybody here has family? Everybody here have kids? Raise your hand. Almost all of you. So for me, part of the reason why I like to day trade is to be able to help my mom. Not to have $1 million, because now she has her own house, she has her own car, and then I pay for everything. So for me, this is the most important thing in the world, not necessarily money, okay? And that's a trip that we took to India. This is the center that we have trading centers around the world. I'm working with Dominic to start the trading center here so we can have traders here in the Philippines trade our money. So the vision or the goal that I have is to have you guys come and trade from the center that we'll have here in Manila. And then that's the backside of the fund, and then a seminar. This is part of the team that we have in the Philippines, which is Dominic, and then a few assistants as well. Okay, so I want to explain to you guys, since most of you guys or some of you guys are new, the different types of trading and why we trade a certain way, okay? The majority of people, depending on where they learn how to trade, there's just different time frames. So there's very, very fast trading where you guys enter and exit very quickly in milliseconds or very quickly, and that's called scalping, right? Then we have intraday day trading, where we open a position in the morning and then we can get out in 10 minutes or an hour, but we always open and close the same day, yeah? After that, we have swing trading. And swing trading, in my definition, is holding a position from one day to the next up to about 3 weeks or so, okay? And then we have position trading or investing. Somebody like Warren Buffett, for example, is an investor. He buys something and he holds for 20, 30, 40 years, okay? If you guys are going to learn how to trade, everybody here has heard the 10,000 hours, right? You need practice. So if you guys are going to learn how to trade, in my opinion, the best thing to do is day trading, to learn how to trade. And the reason why is because you guys need the practice, right? So if you're going to, and everybody here I'm sure is familiar, if you're going to learn how to talk to a woman, you need practice in the beginning, right? So you have to make sure that you get the practice in, and then that's why I recommend day trading in the beginning. After you guys learn, you guys can trade longer term, shorter term, whatever you guys want to do, okay? Now, one of the things that most people don't talk about in the stock market, before, the way that the stock market works, for those of you guys that are brand new, let's say I want to buy a house, or I want to sell a house. Someone's selling a house here in Manila for $120,000, right? If they don't get any offers for the house, how much is the house going to sell for? Probably for less than $120,000, right? Because there's no demand, there's no people putting offers on the house. You agree? So if there's a lot of people, like Chinese, right? A lot of Chinese coming, they want to buy the house and they put a lot of offers in the house, what's going to happen to the price of the house? It's going to go up. That's the way that the stock market should work. Demand and supply. If a lot of, right now what's happening with Huawei, you guys know the United States is blocking off Huawei. Yeah. What's going to happen to Huawei? Nobody's going to want to buy Huawei. So the stock or the price is going to go down. So there's something very different now that's happening in the stock market. And there's an economist named Jim Rickards, if you guys want to write it down, he talks about this. He wrote a book called Currency Wars. There's countries now that are attacking each other through the financial markets, and there's a lot of manipulation. So you have, if you guys didn't know, the stock market is a zero-sum game. So that means if somebody wins, somebody else has to lose, right? So in this business, who do you think is always winning? You think we're always winning? Warren Buffett never loses. Banks never lose, right? So the big guys are normally the people that are always winning in this business. Institutions, hedge funds, banks, central banks, George Soros, Warren Buffett. So if we're going to learn how to trade, those are the people that we have to compete against. Because it's zero sum. If somebody wins, other persons lose. And most of the times we lose because we see on Instagram and YouTube, yeah, open up an account for $5, you're going to make $1 million tomorrow, right? That's what everybody says. But it's not that easy, okay? So because there's a lot of manipulation, there's certain markets that may be easier for you guys to trade than others, right? So for those of you guys, most of you that trade Forex here, can anybody tell me where the exchange for Forex is? Huh? It's not right. It's not centralized. So there isn't one place where the Forex exchanges, right? So you can trade Forex from the Philippines, you can trade Forex from Singapore, you can trade Forex from London, you can trade Forex from anywhere in the world, right? So Forex is the biggest market in the world with $5.7 trillion a day in transactions. So it's the biggest. But there's a disadvantage to that as well. Being the biggest, there's also more manipulation. There was a study that was done in 2017 from an entity in the UK that proved that 94.5% of the participants in Forex are institutional traders. So that basically means that if we're going to learn how to trade, we're going to compete against the biggest guys in the world. So there's other markets that don't have as much manipulation and they don't have as many institutional traders. So Forex is the biggest market in the world. I don't want to say that you can't make money trading Forex, because you can. There's people that do it, right? But there's other markets that I recommend that are a little bit easier in the beginning, like stocks and futures. And I'm going to explain to you guys what futures is. So if I want to buy Apple stock, where do I need to go? The exchange in the United States. If I'm going to buy gold, where do I need to go? The exchange in the United States. They just opened one in Singapore now too. If I'm going to buy the peso, the Filipino peso, where do I go? Anywhere. United States, London, Singapore, China. You see the difference? So if we're going to trade other markets like stocks or futures or even options, there's one place that you need to go. So there's nowhere that you can go outside of that location. So what happens is, in these markets, they're centrally regulated. What does that mean? That they're not allowed to manipulate the market. Does that make sense? There's other markets that are probably not as big here in the Philippines called binary options. Who here knows what binary options are? Raise your hand. Okay, so we got a few. CFDs? Okay. So these markets aren't regulated as well. That's why in Europe last year, binary options are now illegal. You can't do binary options in Europe anymore. So what I recommend is futures and stocks. Even though we have traders that trade Forex as well, it would probably be easier for you guys to trade futures, because it's a little bit simpler to learn, because there's less manipulation. There's less people like Warren Buffett and the Central Bank of the Philippines manipulating things. Does that make sense? This is the way that I want you guys to think of trading. This is us. We open up our accounts for $5 and $50 and $1,000, and we're competing against George Soros, Warren Buffett, the Central Bank of the Philippines, investment funds, right? So this business can be learned. I've been in this business now for almost 18 years, so you can learn how to do this. But just remember that if the benefits are really high, we can make money anywhere in the world, we can travel. Obviously, it can't be easy, okay? This is, I'm going to explain to you guys now what futures is. So this is a video that came from a movie, Dominic. So I'm going to listen to it for a second so you guys can understand a little bit, okay? What is a futures contract? Starbucks needs coffee. Where do they buy the coffee from? If you guys don't know where coffee comes from, it's a little plant with beans, right? So Starbucks needs to make an agreement, a contract, to buy the physical product from someone. Because if they don't have the physical product, which is coffee, they can't sell coffee, right? Philippine Airlines needs oil. Where do they buy the oil from? So the best example that I can give you what a futures contract is, Starbucks makes a contract with a farmer in Vietnam. Vietnam now is the second largest exporter of coffee in the world. They sign the contract with the farmer, and then the agreement says that the farmer is going to give Starbucks the coffee in a year, and Starbucks will pay for the coffee in 1 year. That's a futures contract. So initially, futures contracts were created for physical products, okay? So we have gold, oil, wheat, meat, all kinds of physical products. The only two products that right now don't have a futures contract is cobalt and lithium, right? So let's say I'm buying the house. You guys remember the house that I mentioned that was $120,000? I signed the agreement. I don't know what it's called here in the Philippines, but I signed the contract to buy the house. In the contract it says, I pay the person who's selling the house 30 days from now, and then he gives me the house 30 days from now. That's a futures contract, okay? Then the exchange, which is called the CME, go to the next one for me, please. The CME, what they did was, the challenge with futures contracts was, because the size of these contracts were so big, we needed a lot of money to trade them. So let's say, for example, that we are, do you guys remember the landslide or the big water that came to Indonesia a few years ago? Do you guys remember? What happens if there's a natural disaster and there's not enough coffee to sell? What's going to happen to the price of coffee? It's going to go up. Do you guys agree? So what happens? Me, being in finance, I know what's going to happen to the price of coffee in a year because there was a natural disaster and there's not going to be enough coffee to turn in a year from now. So I go to the farmer and I make an agreement with the farmer and I say, Dominic, I want to buy your contract for coffee. So then I buy the contract for coffee. He has extra money to fix his farm, but then I own the contract. So what do you think is going to happen a year from now when Starbucks comes to me to try to negotiate the price of coffee? I'm going to charge them a lot more. You guys see? That's called speculation. So that's what we do in the market. So when the year is over, the coffee farmer doesn't give me the coffee. They give it directly to Starbucks. Starbucks doesn't pay me for the contract. They pay the farmer directly. The only thing that I'm doing is speculating where the price of the coffee is going to go. But the problem is, Starbucks doesn't only need one bag of coffee. They need 1,000,000 bags of coffee. So in order for me to buy and sell this coffee contract, I need a minimum of $100,000. So it's very hard for us to be able to trade in the larger or physical product futures because the contracts are so big. So what did the exchange do? The exchange called the CME in Chicago, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where the majority of futures in the world are traded, created a new financial product called E-mini futures. What they did is they applied the system for physical products, the futures contracts, to financial products, okay? So now, instead of speculating, instead of buying and selling coffee or gold or oil, what I can do is I can speculate on the futures contract for Apple stock or the interest rate of the debt in the Philippines. You guys see? So when they applied this system to financial products, now we don't need $100,000. Now we only need a minimum of $500. Do you guys see? Now, if you guys are going to trade in markets like stocks or Forex, you guys know what margin is, right? So if I have $1, the broker can borrow me another $1 in order to trade with more money. But it's a loan, and they charge you interest. So if you guys want to have leverage when it comes to Forex, you guys need to borrow money from the broker in order to buy something. So if I have $100 and I want to buy $1,000 of something, then the broker will give me 100-to-1 leverage, and they will borrow me $900. I'm always going to know where the market's going to go, right? You guys see? So if I borrow the money, if I lose it, what happens? I have to pay the broker. Okay? In futures, you cannot borrow money. It's illegal. So in this market, the consumer is protected because there's a central exchange that regulates the market, and the leverage is built into the futures contract. Why? Do you guys remember the size of the coffee futures? So because the coffee futures was so big, when they apply it to a financial product, it's still big. You guys understand? So now, with just $500, I can literally make anywhere between $20 and $5,000 in the futures market. So if I'm going to buy and sell silver, If silver goes up $1, I can make $5,000 with a minimum of 500. If I'm gonna buy the S&P 500, which is the exchange in the United States, I can make $50 per dollar. You guys understand? So the leverage is much bigger, but we don't have the risks that we have in other market where we have to borrow the money. That's how futures works, okay? Now, after the E-mini futures, what happened is they created a new product this year, this month, called micro futures. Micro futures is 1/10 the size of the normal E-mini futures. So now, instead of needing $500, we only need $100 to open up an account. And the minimum to be able to trade with is $50. So for those of you guys that know about Forex, this is like micro lots in Forex, very similar. But the difference is that since it's a futures market, there's a centralized exchange and they can't manipulate the price like they can, for example, in Forex, right? So now anybody that wants to come and trade futures can start with just $100. And remember, you guys can come to Speed Up as well to apply to trade a big account of $25,000 or $50,000 or $100,000. And this is going to be great for all of us because now the requirements to trade futures is a lot lower. So it's literally now almost the same as Forex without the risks that Forex have, okay? Now, one of the things I'm going to show you guys as well is, since the futures market is a centralized exchange, all of the information is transparent, which basically means if I'm buying a Filipino peso, do I know how many people are buying Filipino pesos right now in the United States? I don't know. So if I'm gonna trade Forex and I want to buy the Filipino peso, how am I going to be correct if I don't know what the other side is doing? You guys understand? In the futures market, there's a centralized exchange that gives everybody the information publicly. So Warren Buffett sees the same information that I see. I see the same information that the Central Bank of Philippines sees. You see the difference? In Forex, only a few people have all the information. And it's not us, because we don't have enough money. You guys understand? So what we are able to do with the futures market, since we're able to see everything, we're able to see the manipulation happening. Because the people that move the market are the people that have the most money. So if we trade in a futures market where there's a centralized exchange that makes everything transparent, we can see what the big guys are doing. So when you're going to learn how to trade, there's a lot of new people here, right? There's different kinds of charts that you can use. You have high-low close bars, you have candlestick charts, you have different kinds of charts. Most people use minute-based charts. So 1 minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, okay? What we use is called tick charts, okay? The difference is that since we can see all of the information in the futures market, we see every transaction that comes into the market. We can see everything. And we can see the manipulation. Okay? So, on the left-hand side, most of you guys, raise your hand if you guys have seen these charts before. So most of you guys, okay? So this is a 5-minute chart, okay? This green box right here means it's 5 minutes of information. The reason why it's green is because in those 5 minutes, the market closed higher. It went up. The red boxes are 5 minutes too. The reason why it's red is because inside of those 5 minutes, the market went down. So inside these two bars right here is 10 minutes of information. You guys with me? On the right-hand side are tick charts. So on the right-hand side, every bar that we see is based on a number of transactions. So my question is, inside this 10 minutes of information, how many transactions happened? 10 minutes? Okay. You guys see the difference? So all of this information on the left is all of this information on the right. Do you guys see the difference? There's a lot more information. Why? Because we see every transaction that comes into the market. No matter if it's United States or China or Philippines or anywhere else. Because there's a centralized exchange. If somebody wants to buy Apple stock, they have to go to one place. They can't buy Apple stock in the Philippines. They have to use a broker. They have to find somebody that has access to the United States to buy the Apple stock. You guys see? In Forex, it's not centralized. That's the same thing with futures. Futures is centralized. You want to buy gold? United States. You want to buy oil? United States. You want to buy soybeans? United States. So if we talk about here, if we are going to make money in the stock market, if we're going to make, whether it's Forex or futures or any other market, what has to happen to the price of the thing that we're buying? It has to go up. It has to move. So if I'm going to buy a house, let's say I buy houses and I sell them for profit. If I buy the house of $120,000, what has to happen to the price of the house for me to make money? It has to go up. So if we're going to trade, wouldn't it be better to trade in a way where, one, we can see all of the information, but at the same time have more movement? Do you guys see? Right here, there's only 2 bars because there's 10 minutes of information, and this goes down all the way to the yellow line. So there's 2 bars of information here. If we follow the yellow line, do you guys see the difference here? We have 60, 70 bars on the right-hand side. You guys see? So if you guys look here, for example, right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. Right here. Do you guys see the difference right here? So because we're able to trade in a market that's more transparent, we're able to have an easier way to make money in the market because we can see what everybody is doing. That's the difference with futures. And more than anything, tick charts. Okay? This is what everybody thinks that trading is. 20 different charts, a lot of different indicators. There was a study that was done. Does everybody here know Harvard, the university in the United States? If you guys Google the best universities in the world, Harvard is always number 1 or number 2 or number 3. If you guys are going to learn how to trade because you're here, you want to learn and make money and do well, right? What do you guys have to do? You have to simplify the process in order to learn as fast as possible. And the reason why I do that with the traders at Day Trading Academy is because what is my goal? I don't just want to sell another course. I want to find the traders that are going to trade my money in the end. You guys see the difference? So if I'm going to try to teach someone as fast as possible, what do you guys have to do? There was a study that was done in Harvard that for over 50 years, they followed people and they found when somebody does 2 things at once, the effectiveness goes down by 40%. So what happens? If you guys are trading stocks or Forex, how many markets do you have to look at the same time? 8, 9, 10 markets. How many indicators do you have to look at? You guys see the difference? So with futures, we don't have to trade 8 different markets. We can trade 1 market every single day. If you're going to learn how to ride a bike, what do you have to do? You have to do the same thing every day. If you're going to learn how to drive a car, you want to do the same thing every day. You have to specialize. So when you're going to learn math, do they show you calculus and trigonometry the first day? Or do they show you 1 + 1 is 2? You have to simplify the process to be able to learn. And that's what futures allows us to do because it's a lot simpler market to be able to trade on. See the difference? This is the way that we trade. Tick charts, very simple. The same market every day. We don't have to look at the market every day. On average, our traders finish in about 30 minutes a day, and that's it. Right? So it's much more simple because the market is much more simple. This is, for example, another example that's very easy for you guys to learn on. One last thing that I wanted to show you is I wanted to show you how it works in a live market environment. This is a trade that one of our traders in Europe took. If you guys, everybody here knows that we can make money when the market goes down, yes? 5 minutes? Thank you. Does anybody here not know that you can make money when the market goes down? Raise your hand. Everybody knows? You sure? Okay. So over here, the last red arrow right over here is the entry for the trade. You guys see it? There's an orange line or a cream line that goes sideways. That's 0. So he took a trade in the red arrow. If it goes down, he's going to make money because he went short. Okay? And hopefully it'll play because the last video didn't play either. Let me see if it'll work. No, it won't work. Okay, well, sorry, the video doesn't want to work. So, as I told you guys before, the requirements to be able to trade with, minimum $1,000 to open up an account for the E-mini futures, The minimum for the micro futures is only $100 to be able to trade with. In futures, since it's a much more regulated market, there's less fees as well. So when we go to buy and sell, they only charge us one time, $3 or $1. No more fees. If we hold a position from one day to the next, no fees. In Forex, they charge you a fee for holding from one day to the next. Okay? So that's why futures is a much more simple market. And one last thing that I want to tell you guys, most of you guys are young, so you guys haven't seen the cycles of the economy, but the world economy always goes up and it always goes down, okay? So one of the beauty about being able to day trade, if you guys are here and you want to learn how to trade, the trading is the only business in the world where you guys can actually make more money when things are bad than when things are good. So what happens? Because most of you guys may not know this. Do you guys know Jim Rogers? Jim Rogers is a trader that started the quantum fund with George Soros. They made more than 10,000% in 10 years. He always says that since the beginning of time, we have always had an economic contraction. We've always had bad times every 4 to 6 years on average. The last recession that we had was in 2008. So we are now over 10 years when we haven't had a bad economy. In 1998, there was a hedge fund that collapsed. It's called long-term capital management. The Wall Street, the funds bailed it out. 2008, 2009, we had the financial crisis. All the governments in the world bailed out the financial system. Who's going to bail out the governments now in 2018, 2019? So if you guys want to learn how to trade, whether it's in Forex or futures or with me or with somebody else, I recommend that you guys try to do it as fast as possible, because the economy that we're going to have in about a year or two, you guys are going to remember what I'm telling you today. We're going to have the worst economy of our generation in about 2 years. So if you guys have the capacity to learn how to trade correctly, you guys are going to be able to make more money than you guys have ever imagined that you guys can make. During the Great Depression in 1929, we had more money, we were able to make more money than in any other situation in the history of the world. So the reason why I tell you guys this is because if you guys learn how to do this correctly, if you guys learn how to do this properly, when the bad economy comes, because it always comes, right? The economy does great for a while, then the economy doesn't do well for a while, you guys are going to be able to make enough money that you guys won't imagine you could have made before. But you got to do it correctly, okay? So on this page right here, we're going to do a free webinar on Wednesday. I'm gonna show you guys how we analyze the market live. I'm not going to sell you anything. It's going to be completely free. You guys can come. You guys can ask questions if you guys want to learn more about futures, and I'll be happy to go ahead and answer any questions there on the webinar.
It should be 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, it's 9:30 p.m., not a.m. So let me change that. Thank you very much.